Hey everyone, and welcome to a live hangout with me, Simon Walker. I'm sat here at the Crowdfunder HQ down in Newquay in Cornwall, and I'm delighted that today we've got friend, ex-head gardener of River Cottage, star of this season's Grand Designs, and proud owner of a very successful crowdfunding project, Mark Diacono, also on the hangout with us. So earlier in the year, Mark ran a incredibly successful crowdfunding project with us, and at the time, it was being filmed for Grand Design. So there was lots of work going on with Kevin McCloud being at the site, doing lots of filming, and we were lucky enough to be featured as part of this show, which hopefully many of you guys saw last Wednesday at 9 PM. It was really good. I really enjoyed watching it. Mark, I don't know if you could, for the sake of context, give us a bit of information about Otter Farm and sort of the journey that you've been on. Of course, it's much broader than just the crowdfunding part that we're going to be talking about today.
Sure. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Simon. Hi, everyone. Yeah, well, I guess about 12 years ago, my wife and I had the overpowering urge to grow more food than we had in the last place, and came across a bit of land. And to cut a very long story short, I started planting lots of things that I didn't know whether they'd live or not. And most of them have, which is good. And many of them you probably won't be able to find anywhere else in the country, maybe not in Europe even. So it's quite an exciting mix, you know, things like pecans and Szechuan pepper, as well as more familiar things like apples and asparagus and tomatoes and all of that. And I busily started blogging way back in the day, as really as a way of keeping a record myself. I wrote a bit more, I wrote a book for River Cottage, and then I wrote another one. And you know how things happen. Happy accident. While you're busy planning things, other things, more interesting things happen. And I wanted to open the place up because really there was no way that I could have people here to kind of go, look, this is Szechuan pepper, this is what you do with it, this is how to grow, it's very easy. So we put together this kind of plan to build both a house to be in the middle of the land, and actually be in it, which is a kind of a big thing in itself, but also to have another building where we could process the stuff we grew, we could invite other people in, we could run courses, anything to do in that journey from plot to plate. And we knew it was going to be a big undertaking, and it's proven to be a really big undertaking. And really interestingly, we got to the point of which we knew we would be at, which is, hey, we haven't got all the money to do this, and that's where I guess the crowdfunding came right in. But it was interesting because I spoke to you, Simon, didn't I, about how we might go about it, and the concept's very simple, but actually it's the sort of thing like building a house. You really wish that you could do twice, and you do it right the second time, and you'd know what to do the second time. But I think, because am I right in thinking, Simon, most crowdfunders, you're talking about, a few grand, and we went for something quite ambitious. But I think a lot of the principles are still the key ones, and I have to say, I've learned an awful lot from doing it, but I also learned a huge amount from yourselves about the key stuff that you have to know early on. And yeah, we ran that. I think we did that in early spring, and you get your patch of time, your month in which to do it all. And here we are down the line, and the place is nearly finished. If you watch the Grand Designs program, the last filming was done about 3 weeks ago, and I'm hoping that maybe at least most of the things will be finished in another 3 weeks. So we're nearly there.
Very nearly there. And so, you touched on the crowdfunding there, and that's sort of what we're here to talk about, to give a bit of insight for anybody else who wants to follow in your footsteps. Maybe they've got a grand design of their own, or maybe they want to set something up that is a lot smaller and they just want to raise something for a few £1,000s. Yeah. I'm going to try something with the technology now, and I'm going to try and share my screen to give everybody a bit of an overview of your project. So, as you said, Mark, it was, can everybody see that?
I can see it.
So it ran for 28 days, from the 16th of March, or on the 16th of March we finished. And like all crowdfunding projects, right at the very top of the screen, you've got a video. I'm not going to play the video because the sound isn't going to work particularly well, but for everybody who's watching, please head over to crowdfunded.co.uk/Otter-Farm to watch Mark's video, because it's a really good example. And you can see right at the top there, £60,000. I mean, it's a big target for rewards-based crowdfunding, and you managed to raise that from individual backers, which is pretty momentous. And I'm hoping that we're going to find out how you did that in a little bit. And so as we scroll down, I think one of the main things is just to take a look at the general layout and the flow of Mark's project, because it's really split up in a very nice way. We're not going to have a chance to read it, but as Mark mentioned, he's written a couple of books. He's a very eloquent writer. And so I'd highly recommend going through and just looking at the style and the tone, because I think it can be quite difficult to go out to a crowd and say, can you please help me? And Mark does it in a very, very special way. And so you can see there's lots of information. There's lots of great imagery. The rewards are all down the side. And this is the project that we're going to be talking through now. So I'm going to come back off of the sharing. And hopefully you should be back to me now. So, Mark, I've got a couple of questions that I want to ask you, and then we're going to open up the floor to Q&A. So if you have any questions that you want to ask Mark, then fire them over our way or send them across to Crowdfunder UK on Twitter, and we will ask Mark here live in the room. I've just been showing there's actually a hashtag going on, hashtag CF Otter Farm. So use that if you want to ask any questions. But I'm going to take the floor first, Mark, and ask you a couple of things. And I want to start right at the start. So we all know that running a project isn't just about the 28 days that you're live for. And I'm really interested in what you did before going live, and if that had an impact on your confidence level of sort of were you going to be successful or not.
I think it's that whole bit that you do before. I mean, I'm going to say this in retrospect because you were very clear about it to start with. But actually, the bit you do before will save you. It buys you essentially another couple of weeks. You know? It was really interesting to do all the things you think are obvious, but because they're obvious, it's very easy to miss them out. So looking through other people's campaigns, really important. You know, learning some lessons about maybe trying to pick up why things have worked, why maybe you think they haven't worked, and it's really interesting to look at other people's films, to look at other people's structure of rewards, to be looking at all of that kind of stuff, but also to turn that on yourself and go, right, what do I want to do? I was very clear about what I wanted to do. It's this kitchen garden school, it's a building, it's a place to welcome people. But it's very easy to know that in yourself, and actually getting that down in a really interesting way to invite other people into this dream, whether it is, I don't know, whether it's a brewery or somewhere that you're going to be distilling gin, or you want to plant a community orchard. It doesn't matter. What is it that, don't think of the place you're in now, put yourself in the place that you want to be, and that is the place that you want to invite people to come to. And I think there's a lot of that practical stuff that's really important, but I think there's also a slight mind shift that you have to do that again is really crucial, which is it's two elements to it. Firstly, I think one is be prepared to explain to people what crowdfunding is. It sometimes can be seen by a lot of people as a bit like doing a sponsored something, you know. And I think it's very important to be able to communicate what it is, that not just about the thing that you're aiming for, but actually what crowdfunding is. It's a beautifully kind of a sustainable, kind of warm, inclusive, community-minded way of funding things. And funding things is generally, in the traditional sense, absolutely none of those things. So I think it's really important to share that, and the idea that actually people aren't giving you money. You know, all of those kind of things. You know, it's that they are essentially buying ahead. It's like ordering a book on Amazon before it comes out. But in doing so, you're making it happen. And I think this is part of the second part that I think is really crucial, is to learn to do with it with confidence, because you want the money, don't get me wrong, you want the money to make this thing happen. But it's an exchange. It's a really equitable, lovely exchange. Don't forget that while you want the money to make it happen, actually, what you're offering people is not just a thing. It's not just your book or your pints of cider or your an involvement in this. It's the good feeling of having made it happen, and it's a very equitable, generous exchange. And I think it's very delightfully at odds with crawling into your bank manager and trying to persuade them to lend you some money. So I think don't underestimate how valuable that time is. It's really crucial because it sets you off on a different trajectory. It's very easy, and I've seen it happen with lots of people. It's very easy to set off on that trajectory of getting your crowdfunder going, and don't waste time. Get it up and going, and but wait to launch until you're feeling like you're really, really ready to. And I think that whole preparation thing and pre-planning and becoming aware of what you're doing, what crowdfunding is, and also the crucial thing is it's all the other detailed elements. You don't just put it up and then sit back and go, come on, watch the clock. You have to have a plan for that whole thing. But if you do that early pre-planning right, you gain a couple of weeks on your 28 days. And if you do it wrong, or you jump in too quick, and again, I've seen it happen a lot, you lose a week, 10 days, and that's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. Every one of those 28 days is valuable.
There's sort of like you're building in a margin of error in the planning that you do up.
It's really crucial. I think, it's like getting married. You don't just go, hey, we're going to get married. It's on the 3rd of June, and you rock up, and you think on the 2nd of June, right, what are we doing tomorrow? I'm getting married. There's a lot of planning and preparation that makes the day great, and it'll always be special, even if you did just rock up on the 2nd of June and go, hey, I'm getting married tomorrow. But if you do all that other stuff, it will be much more likely to be as you want it. And that's,
yeah. And I remember talking with you, Mark, and we were going through, this is quite a good trick or tip to write down. We're going through, what do we think that the average person is going to pledge on the Otter Farm project? Yeah. And based on what we think the average amount is, how many people do we need to back your project in order to raise you £60,000? And that was a really big sort of moment, I think, for both of us when we went, wow, that's actually quite a lot of people. And how do we reach that many people?
It's really interesting. So I think the bit I just talked about is more the kind of philosophical mind kind of thing. But that's not enough. You're quite right. You've got to use the stats. You've got to use what's out there and the information that is at hand. We know, and this I've remembered this, Rob. I think about 5% of people who view your page will pledge.
That's correct.
Broadly, yep. I'm good. I've remembered it. Broadly speaking, the average pledge is 50 quid-ish.
Yes.
So the maths is all there to do. It's really simple. So your job, my job, the crowdfunder's job, is to go, okay, let me have a look at that. I want to raise 100 quid. Okay, I need 2 people to pledge. Average amount of pledge. Therefore, I need to attract. That's going on the 2. It's going to be 5%. So I need to get 40 people to my website. Right, and statistics will tell me that I'm likely to reach my target. Brilliant. So multiply that up, and then figure out how you're going to do it. And that's where all the network mapping and everything else comes into it. But those figures are crucial. Once you start working on that, that's great. But also the other crucial element of that is that you've got to keep a clear mind on it again, because that 50 quid average is really important. Don't just stock in loads of 50 quid ones. We're straying slightly here into the reward structure.
That's fine. Let's talk about rewards, because it's
a really, and it's very easy to just go, okay, we'll put one there, we'll put a low one, a middle one, a couple of high ones, and that's great, and it's really important. But you will get a lot of, and you want to let people come in at a very low level. So it can be a 5, it can be a 10. I think that's really, really important, because they are valuable not just for their money, it's their advocacy role. And you want to have lots of, in the run up to 50 quid and out of 50 quid, and you want to have a few high ones, because if you can attract somebody to come to the launch of whatever, or to be a bigger part of it, then that's brilliant. But if you ask me what the crucial thing about rewards is, I would say it's the stepping. It's to keep having an invitation to go a little higher than you meant to go. Because I know what I'm like. I went on to one not very long ago. It's for a brewery somewhere. And I'm thinking, I guess I go in, and I think a lot of people do, with that default kind of 25, 30, 50 quid kind of mentality. And it went from 50 quid to 100 quid. No, it was 50 quid to 110, 120 quid. And I thought, you know what, I haven't been invited to take a little step. And if I'm invited up to 70 or 75 quid, I'm going to have a little look at it if my mind is halfway on 50 quid. And once I'm there, you're more likely to go up to, and that's the thing, just keep interesting little increments. I think that's really important, because if people have emotionally bought into it, they're much more likely to financially buy into it too. And I think that's really, really important. So don't think 50 quid, that's the only area that's key. It's these little invitations that are really important.
And so, do you remember how many rewards that you actually had? How many levels? I remember it was quite a few. And
it was quite a few. I could have a quick look if you like, but one of the things that you have to be aware of as well is that however well you plan it, you will also feel like introducing some along the line. So have a couple that are a little bit back. I think probably, and it's off the top of my head, I guess there were maybe 15 in the end, something of that order. And again, I hope I may be doing myself too kind here, but I think there were lots of little increments. You could go up from 50 to 60 very easily, up to 75, up to 100, up to 150. But again, those rewards, it's not just about monetary value. Let's have somewhere people come in, let's have experiences, for people who want to come. Let's have items for people who can't or don't want to come. They just want a thing. They want a signed copy of your book. Let's allow people to be part of it through, with a very low, not very low, I don't mean to sound like that, but, with a low contribution. So I think for a tenner, we had it so that people are going to be named on a wall as part of the building that they were part of. Because make no mistake, those tenors, they really, really rack up. Those tenors rack up. Don't undervalue them. Really, really important. And it's just giving everybody a chance to jump on, is what I'm saying. And be part of that dream. I remember I interviewed Tim Smith once for a magazine, the guy who essentially was, Mr. Gardens of Heligan, but also the Eden Project. And it doesn't matter if it's something very small that you want to do financially or something bigger, but what he said is don't sell a big dream. He said the thing, as far as he was concerned, he said getting the Eden Project off the ground was a piece of cake compared to getting a wall repaired in his village, because people want to buy into the dream. So sell them a 50 million dream, don't sell them a 50p one. And that's still the case even if you're doing something relatively small. So remember, you're throwing the first stone and you want to hit as many people as you can, but you want as many of those people who buy in by getting a reward. They're the people who not only give you the reward, but they throw the second stone. And that second stone is as valuable to you as their reward is. That's the key. That's really interesting, because we always say you want to try and have a touch point with as many different demographics as possible, whether they are local to you and can come along to an event or an experience, or they're further afield and they might need to be posted something, or they're international and you might offer to send them something digitally. And it's really important to be as inclusive as possible. Exactly that. Yeah.
But also the fact that once someone has been incentivized enough to pledge on your project and they're part of your world, then they're a backer, reaching out to them and sort of using them almost as another asset, another resource. I think what you've got when you have a pool of backers is a potential fundraising army. And I remember that you, Mark, did something specifically quite clever towards the end of your project, to use all of those backers to re-engage them with what you were doing and to get them to promote your project further afield. And I haven't seen it being done before, and it rarely happens. Well, I've rarely seen it happen since. I don't know if you want to talk about sort of the whole competition, the buy one get one free thing that you did for all backers.
Yeah,
great tactic.
It's really, I mean, it gets back to this thing really, that again, use the information you know, and we know that the typical crowdfunder graph is up at the front, along in the middle, up at the end, and people want to start you off or take you across the line. You know, it's very difficult to get somebody to give you a quid in the middle, but that's the hard yards, and what you've got to do is be imaginative. You can't just lose faith. You've got to come up with some strategies, and you do have those days you're going, crikey, O'Reilly, it's crawling along. But again, looking at other people's, coming up with some ideas ourselves. You don't just want to be the noise; you want to get everybody else to be the noise for you. And what dawned on me was two things. One is that we could, if we had competition, so for every day for a week, I said, okay, if anybody who pledges today will get. And everybody who's pledged so far will be thrown into a hat, and they will win, I don't know, a place on a course, or 2 places on a course, or a bottle of wine, or whatever else. And that was really nice because it re-engaged people, and it made people go, hang on a minute, I've already pledged, but if I pledge again, even if I go down for the tenner, I will be I'll have another name of mine in the hat. So it doubled people's chances, which was really nice. But the other thing I did as well was I said to existing, so anyone who's already pledged, if you pledge for anything else you like, doesn't matter if it's a tenner, doesn't matter if it's a grand, doesn't matter if it's 50 quid, and you get a bottle of wine. You get a bottle of Otter Farm wine, and again, it gets people engaged, it gets people pushing out, and I think one of the things to do here in all of this is to be generous, and it's to be kind of, you go, okay, that bottle of wine is going to cost me, let's say, that, it's going to cost me easily the tenner. Maybe I'm going to lose a bit of money even on that one. If somebody comes in and pledges at a tenner, and gets their bottle of wine, it doesn't matter. It's part of that investment thing, and I think that's really important. Those middle days, you've got to come up with interesting ways to engage and to re-engage, because, like I say, you can only throw so many stones. You want all those people who are already your advocates and have come on side and are part of it to be throwing more stones for you. Going, crikey, I've already pledged for this. Now I'm getting a bottle of wine, and telling all of their network, and it's that ripple effect that I think. It's really important to keep your eyes on. You don't just want to go outside your house and go, hey, you want to get other people to do that.
Right, and that's the beauty of a digital platform too, because
really?
It allows you to amplify and amplify. I mean, really easy.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those joyful things, crowdfunding. I think where it's a coming together of technology with society, and also new kind of approaches and ways of doing things in a community way, and all of that, social media, all of it's just come together at the perfect time. We couldn't be a better place to be doing it.
Cool. So I'm going to open the floor up, Mark, if that's cool, and we'll see if there's been any other questions. I've just been handed some that have come through. Right. So here's one from another Mark. If the bank had offered funding, would you have rather gone down that route than the crowdfunding route?
No, not in retrospect. I think there's so many more pleasurable roads to be travelled with crowdfunding. Like I say, you've built a team of crowd of people who are invested in you for a start. You have sold something ahead to people, whether it's an experience or a physical item. In every way, it amplifies everything you're doing. It gets your business out there, or it gets your idea out there in a different way. And the lovely thing about it is, you can go to the bank and say, lend me some money and I can do this. That's great. And then you've got the repayments, which is fine. But you haven't, in no part of that do you have any element of marketing or any element of engagement with people who you want to be involved, who might be involved. And crowdfunding is really all of those things rolled up together. So, okay, we were trying to do this at a time where interest rates are bonkers, banks don't want to lend. It wasn't the avenue that it would have been 5-10 years ago. It's a tougher time now, but you can still get it, and there are avenues to do that. But I think it's just missing the trick not to go on this road. I think it's just so bright-minded. Such a great idea. I think the way, obviously I've only done it once and it was with yourselves, but the actual mechanics of it, the way that it works with you, and I'm sure others, but it's just so intuitive and so right for now. And people are warm to that, we're a society, aren't we? Where we're all, whether we're from one extreme or the other, or right in the middle, we're tired of the man, and we're tired of the traditional way of being gently ripped off by everybody else. And this is entirely the opposite. So I guess that's the long way of saying no. If I had it all over again, I would do exactly this, and I would do it again. You know, if and when we want to do it in something else, I'll be straight back. And I think that's the lovely thing. It couldn't be a kind of more interactive and brilliant way of doing things.
Okay, and I mean that ties into the next question that I've got from Carol from Bucks. She says, or she asks, on the show, crowdfunding seemed like a lot of work, which carried some risk. Would you do it again? And I think,
do you know what? Amidst all of this brilliant affirmation of the power and the wonder of crowdfunding, which is all true, make no mistake, it's work. It's hard work, and yes, we went for a very ambitious target, and I'm sure you could, you know, you wouldn't be investing the time that I had to make that work. But so let's be clear, you're going to have to do some planning and invest your time. You know, I reckon I was pretty full. I was more than full time on it for those 28 days. You know, I would say 12, 15 hours. I was working on interesting things, trying to find a way of doing that, making the film, doing all of this interesting stuff, and trying to push it down certain roads, working with the network, all of that kind of thing, right? And you go, okay, that's 28 days, and you might not have made it. And you know, with a week left, we had about half of the target to go. You know, so it was an interesting time. But we've got 700 people pledging. Okay, let's say we stopped a quid short. At 700 people, 700 people pledging. You know that 20 times more than that were engaged with the project. That's what all the stats tell you, all of that kind of thing. Okay, so what we're looking at, you know, 15,000. Yeah, that's a lot of people, you know, who know and have come to. That's people who've come to your crowdfunding page and are engaged with your business. Now that's really quite powerful. And the fact that those 700 have gone out to more people, and a lot of people know about it afterwards as well. I mean, this does keep working because it stays up there. I would say, even if we'd stopped a quid short and we didn't get it, I'd do that again. I'd do that again, you know, because it's not, you go, no, 14,000, is that many people? You know, I could post something on Facebook and pay a few quid and get it out. You could, but these are active people coming somewhere to do something with intent, you know, and they may not pledge or whatever. It doesn't really matter. They've engaged with what we're doing. So I think as a business of marketing, and also as a very quick way of getting yourself in marketing mode, in promotional mode, in linking to other people and doing that. And you know, a lot of people, especially if we're English, you know, we don't like to do all that particularly well. It's very important and it's very crucial. So I would do it all over again, and I would have been happy to do it and take all the benefits from it, even if we hadn't reached the target.
That's brilliant. A lot of the feedback that we get is that, especially on the marketing side, crowdfunding is a really good reason for a business or a person or a community group or a charity or whatever to say, look at us and look at what we're doing. It's a great hook to say, we're doing something amazing and we want you to be part of it, which goes outside of the generic marketing messages that we tend to see repeated over and over again. Help us do this. This is something that's a bit unusual. It's a bit unique still. It's quite innovative and it draws a lot of people's attention. And once you get that engagement, that has a value much later on down the line, even if they don't pledge, because that person has seen Otter Farm. It's in the front of their mind, even just for 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
The next time they see Otter Farm or any given project, they might book onto one of the courses, or they might decide to pledge on a second project that you might be running, because they've had that initial awareness piece, and the trust is starting to build in the rapport.
That's it. There's so many invisible benefits, you know, and that's really crucial. Is that there's so much beyond the actual money and the actual raising of the cash that you're after. And a lot of that is hard to quantify, but nevertheless, it's there. You know? People are aware of you, and they'll be back again. Got
a cheeky question from Becky. What's Kevin McCloud really like?
Oh, do you know what? I'd heard that. I mean, I'd met him a couple of times because I did some talks at the Grand Designs show. They have a couple of big shows a year, and he seemed like a perfectly nice guy. But I had heard that he's the only guy in telly who no one has a bad word to say about. And immediately that makes you want to find a bad word to say about him, doesn't it? But to be honest, he was genuinely the loveliest man, and it somehow managed to do that thing of imparting advice without you necessarily having asked for it, but in a way that was kind of warm and generous, like a friend. You know what I mean? So and just it was odd because a lot of the trajectory of, say, a Grand Designs program is they're never going to whatever, and it's built on doubt, and it's built on doubt because that there is a lot of doubt. You know, when's it going to happen? When's it going to finish? There's always natural jeopardy. You don't have to make too much of it up. You know, but he is. If you watch any one of those, he's always. He might have all his doubts all the way along, but the punchline is always very positive. It's very much about what the good that people do, and the kind of the power of being of actually doing these things. And I think because he's doing something that he loves, and he's not just one of those presenters who's a presenter. You know, he's got his own building and construction company. He's very much involved in all those things. He's involved in lots of technology. He's doing something he loves. So he's in that world of you know, when people are doing something they love, they tend to be very marvellous and perfectly easy and lovely to be around. And he was all of that stuff.
Hang up.
Hang up quick. Yeah.
Okay, so we're rounding off now. We haven't got loads and loads of time left. I'm going to put you slightly on the spot, Mark. So I think everybody here sort of wants to know, what's the 3 things that you would recommend somebody in your position would do if they've got their own project that they're coming up with and they're intending to launch? What's 3 top tips?
3 top tips. That network map is crucial. Do your network map well, because your network map essentially organises who and how you want to engage people. You know, and you think, oh, I don't need to do that. What I'll do is I'll just email all my mates and whatever, and then I'll move on to so and so. Organise it, because that helps you prioritise how, in which media that you're going to do it, and in what timing that you will contact people and make them engage with your project. I think that network map is absolutely crucial. Get your rewards right. Get your rewards right early. Make them a good mixture. Make them incremental steps. So there's always an invitation to pledge higher than perhaps you initially went there for. And I guess the third one is don't lose heart in the middle. It happens. It will plateau for a while. Don't let that vaguely out. I've seen tweets where people go, somebody pledged today, you know, because nobody's pledged. It doesn't matter. Your business and your entire thing is to make sure that you are out there and being positive about what you do. So stay positive and keep at it. Don't have a day off. If you have a day off, I had a day off in the middle when I was photographing somebody's book. So I was on a shoot. There was no contact. There was nothing, and we took under 200 quid that day. We took under 200 quid, and you know, we were trying to raise 64 grand in 28 days. So it's crucial. Keep going, even if you don't see a response, even if you don't see a result. These are incremental things. They're drip, drip, drips, and you make a stalactite. That's the way it goes.
And I'm gonna throw a 4th one in that I think you did as well as anyone else that I've ever seen in the crowdfunding space, which is don't be afraid to think outside of the box and try something new. Crowdfunding, the Crowdfunder platform represents a pretty safe environment to try something a bit different. And you should do that, and you should try that, and you should measure it. And if it doesn't work, then that's okay. And if it does work, then maybe try and do a bit more of it. So when Mark did the first competition, and we've got quite a few pledges rolling off the back of that social media content and the push, let's do another one tomorrow. And let's do another one until the end of the project, because it's working, and we know it's working. So Mark, I think we've pretty much run out of time. That's about a half an hour together. I'd like to say thank you very much for giving up the time. I know that Otter Farm isn't quite finished yet, and you've got a million things on your list. I appreciate you giving up some of your time to tell us about your experience and how you would do it, and why to do it. So thank you very much.
That's a pleasure.
And
thank you.
Everybody else that's watching, if you want to see Mark's project, crowdfunder.co.uk/Otter-Farm. I'd highly, highly recommend going and taking a look at it. Just as Mark said, it's important to check out what other people have done. Mark's done it very well. Feel free to steal some of his ideas. Sorry, Mark.
Do.
And if you have any questions, we've got the support team and Twitter. Keep firing them our way. And if you want any further guidance, crowdfunder.co.uk/how it works will get you to all of the guides. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone now, and thanks again to Mark.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Sam. Thanks for everybody for watching, and catch you again.